He'd loved men before but never a foreigner, never someone who had to leave. Kamon's grandmother lived in a traditional wooden house that seemed to exist in its own pocket of time, untouched by the modern sprawl of Chiang Mai growing up around it. Wind chimes sang from the covered porch, and the air smelled of jasmine and something cooking that made my stomach rumble hopefully. Yaoi, Kamon called as we climbed the wooden steps, using what I'd learned was the Thai word for grandmother. I brought someone to meet you. The woman who emerged from the house was tiny but commanding, maybe 70 years old, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and eyes that seemed to see everything. She looked me up and down with frank curiosity, then spoke rapidly to Kamon in Thai. Whatever she said made him blush. She says you're taller than she expected, he translated, and that I should have warned her we were coming so she could cook more food. Please tell her I'm honored to meet her, I said, attempting something resembling a proper Y greeting. She smiled at my effort and gestured for us to sit at a low table on the porch while she disappeared back into the house, returning moments later with a tray of fruit, tea, and what looked like enough food to feed a small army. Eat, eat, she insisted in careful English, piling my plate high despite my protests. Then she settled back and fixed me with the kind of direct stare that suggested an interrogation was coming. So, she said, her English more confident than I'd expected. You are the American boy who is making my grandson smile again. Yaoi, Kamon warned, but he was smiling. What? I am old, I can say what I think. She turned back to me. You like Thailand? Very much, I said honestly. It's beautiful. The culture, the people, the grandson, she interrupted with a knowing look. I felt heat creep up my neck. The grandson is very special. She nodded approvingly and launched into what appeared to be an interrogation disguised as polite conversation. Where was I from? What did my family do? What were my intentions regarding her grandson? The last question was asked with such directness that I nearly choked on my tea. Yaoi, Kamon said again more firmly this time. I like him, she announced as if I weren't sitting right there. Better than the last one. Kamon went very still beside me. Yaoi, please. What? You think he doesn't know you've had boyfriends before? She waved a dismissive hand. Ryan seems like a smart boy. He knows you didn't live like a monk before he arrived. I glanced at Kamon, who was studying his plate with intense concentration. We hadn't talked about past relationships yet. Honestly, we'd barely had time to figure out what we were to each other, let alone delve into romantic history. She's right, I said carefully. I know you have a past. We all do. Yes, but his past involves my idiot neighbor's son who thought he was too good for a tour guide, she continued cheerfully. Always looking down his nose, always talking about moving to Bangkok, always making my grandson feel small. Yaoi, stop. But she was just getting started. 3 years he wasted on that boy. 3 years. I told him from the beginning, a man who makes you feel ashamed of who you are is not worth your time. The pain that flashed across Kamon's face made my chest tight. 3 years was a long time, especially when it ended with someone making you feel small. That's enough, Kamon said quietly, standing up. I'm going to get more tea. He disappeared into the house, leaving me alone with his grandmother, who was watching me with sharp eyes. You will hurt him too, she said matter-of-factly. What? You will hurt him. Not because you want to, but because you must leave. I can see it in his eyes, he is falling for you the same way he fell for Arthit. But at least Arthit was Thai. At least there was hope he might stay. The bluntness of it hit me like a physical blow. I don't want to hurt him. Of course you don't. But you will. She leaned forward, her expression serious. The question is, will you hurt him because you are careless with his heart, or because you care too much to make promises you cannot keep? I stared at her, understanding dawning. You're not trying to warn me away from him. You're trying to figure out what kind of person I am. She smiled, the first genuinely warm expression she'd given me since we arrived. Smart boy. Yes, that is exactly what I am doing. And I think you are the kind who will hurt him carefully, she said. With intention, with thought for his feelings. That is something at least. Kamon returned with fresh tea and the conversation shifted to safer topics. My photography, his work, the places he'd taken me to see. But I couldn't shake the weight of his grandmother's words, or the knowledge that she was probably right. I was going to hurt him. The question was how much and whether there was any way to minimize the damage. We left an hour later, arms full of leftover food and my head spinning with everything his grandmother had told me. Kamon was quiet as we drove away, and I could tell something was bothering him. I'm sorry about that, he said finally. She doesn't have much of a filter. I like her, I said honestly. She's protective of you. That's good. She shouldn't have brought up Arthit. Why not? He's part of your story. Kamon pulled over at a small park and turned off the engine. For a moment, we sat in silence, watching children play on swings while their parents chatted on nearby benches. It ended badly, he said finally. The thing with Arthit. Really badly. You don't have to tell me about it if you don't want to. I want to, he said, turning to face me. I want you to understand why I'm careful about this. About us. I waited, giving him space to find the words. We were together for 3 years, he began. Met in university, moved in together after graduation. I thought we were building something real, something permanent. But he always talked about Bangkok like it was the promised land. Better jobs, better opportunities, better everything. But not better for you. No. My life is here, my family is here. I never wanted to leave Chiang Mai. Kamon stared out the windshield. For 3 years I tried to convince him that what we had here was enough. And for 3 years he tried to convince me that it wasn't. What happened? He got a job offer in Bangkok. Good job, the kind he'd always wanted. He asked me to come with him. Kamon's voice was quiet, matter-of-fact. When I said no, he told me I was small-minded. Provincial. That I was holding him back from his real life. The casual cruelty of it made me want to hit something. He was wrong. Was he? Kamon looked at me with sad eyes. Maybe he was right. Maybe I am too small for someone with big dreams. Hey. I reached over and caught his hand. Look at me. He did, reluctantly. You are not small, I said firmly. You are rooted. There's a difference. You know who you are and what matters to you. That's not a weakness. Arthit thought it was. Arthit was an idiot. That surprised a laugh out of him. You don't even know him. I know enough. I know he spent 3 years with someone incredible and still managed to make him feel like he wasn't enough. That tells me everything I need to know about his character. Kamon's smile was soft and real. You're different from him. Good different or bad different? Good different. You see things, really see them. You don't look at Chiang Mai and see a stepping stone to somewhere better. You look at it and see it for what it is. What am I seeing? Home, he said simply. You're seeing home. The word hit me unexpectedly hard. Home. When was the last time anywhere had felt like home to me? Certainly not my sterile apartment in Seattle or my parents' house where I'd never quite fit, or any of the dozen places I'd lived growing up as my dad's job moved us around. But here, in this truck with this man in this city that I'd known for barely a week, something settled in my chest that felt suspiciously like belonging. Kamon, I said carefully. What are we doing here? What do you mean? I mean, what are we doing? I'm leaving in 2.5 weeks. You're staying here. We both know how this story ends. He was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing patterns on the back of my hand. Maybe, he said finally, the ending isn't the only part that matters. What if it is, though? What if your grandmother is right and I'm just going to hurt you? You probably will, he said with startling honesty. And I'll probably hurt you too. That's what happens when you care about someone. Then why? Because the alternative is worse, he interrupted. The alternative is spending the next 2 weeks wondering what if. The alternative is you leaving and both of us regretting that we were too scared to find out what this could be. I stared at him, this man who had somehow become essential to my breathing in the space of a week. So what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we stop borrowing trouble, he said. I'm suggesting we give ourselves permission to fall completely and deal with the consequences later. That's terrifying. Yes, he agreed. But it's also the only way this works. He was right and we both knew it. Half measures and careful distance weren't going to protect either of us now. We were already in too deep for safety. Okay, I said quietly. Okay. Okay, let's fall completely and figure out the rest later. His smile was brilliant and beautiful and worth every moment of heartbreak that was probably coming. Good, he said, leaning across the center console to kiss me softly. Because I'm already most of the way there. Just most of the way? I'm pacing myself, he said against my lips. Trying to make it last. Don't, I whispered. Don't pace yourself. Not for me. And when he kissed me again, deeper this time and with something that felt like surrender, I felt the last of my careful reservations crumble away. His grandmother was probably right, this was going to hurt. But Kamon was right too. The alternative was so much worse.